Hello, my name is Mårten, and this is my journey into photographing the stars and deep sky objects. It's 4 a.m. and I'm going outside to get my scope ready for imaging the Comet Leonard. Welcome inside. As you can see, I've found the Comet Leonard. What I did was that I went inside Stellarium. I looked up the current position in right ascension and declination and entered that into Astro Photography Tool. I then slewed to the target and I started my guiding. And this is my first 60-second test exposure. I think I want to adjust my framing a bit on this, since you can see here is the comet, and I really want that to be a little bit more centered in my frame. As you can see, I'm trying to dial in centering that comet. When adjusting this, I want to consider that this comet is moving to the lower right of the frame and also moving at a much greater speed than the stars. I'm going to edit my light plan and I'm going to remove dithering for this session, since I have a very limited amount of time where I can actually see this comet. And I'm going to start my plan. Now, hopefully I can take around 60 of these exposures, and that is about 60 minutes of data. But the comet is very low and to the east of me, and my view is obstructed by buildings and trees. So we will see. Here's the first sub, and it might be a bit overexposed at the core. Let's do a screen transfer function on the first sub. You can see that the comet head is a bit overexposed, but I really do want to capture some details of the tail. I'm going to let this run now, and I will come back later to show you the results. I've taken about 24 subs now, and everything looks good. If you're capturing a comet, you might want to keep an eye on PhD2 guiding. Mine did actually select the comet at one time, and you don't want to be tracking on the comet, I would say. Welcome back. Well, as you can see, unfortunately, I had some low clouds rolling in, and that affected my imaging. I couldn't get an image from my guide scope whatsoever, so that was the end for this session. I just went outside to put the cover on the telescope to take some darks, since this exposure time is not something that I use that often. I'll just go up here to the edit, and then I will select a add new dark frame. I'm gonna type in dark frames ISO 1600 exposure. When that's finished, I can just click on start button. Welcome back. I've actually spent a couple of days now processing the data that I collected on Comet Leonard, and I'd thought I'd share with you some information about how I processed the final image. As you can see here in PixInsight, I have all my processes that I use often to the right. If you want to save a certain process with settings, you open the process, you make the settings that you want, and then take this little triangle and drag that onto your desktop and use the set icon identifier to name it. And you can save this by using process icons save icons. The next time you open that with that icon, you have all the settings that you want. I don't really like how Deep Sky Stacker handles images with comets. I tried their stacking options. I tried selecting and marking the comet, but the results was not to my liking. So the first thing I did was that I created on the top right here shortcuts to the processes that is needed to manually calibrate and register and integrate frames. So the first thing I did was to integrate all my bias frames into a master bias. I will go into these settings in another video. The second thing I did was to integrate all my dark frames into a master dark. The third thing I did was to calibrate all my flats using the master bias and the master dark. Next, I integrated all my calibrated flat frames into a master flat. And then I used the master bias, the master dark, and the master flat to calibrate all my light frames. I then debayered all of my light frames, and I saved those into an output folder. And if this would have been any other project, I would have continued with registering the lights and integrated them. But since this is a comet, I used the CometAlignment process. The next step is to align all my light frames with the comet in the center of the field of view. For that I use Comet Alignment in PixInsight, and you specify an output directory. You end up with light frames that have the comet aligned. When that is done, you integrate the images with the comet aligned and you will get a comet master, so to speak. The next thing you do is that you want to create a star master where the stars are aligned and not the comet. For that we use Comet Alignment again, but this time we select an operand image which is the comet master that we created in the earlier step, and we subtract that from every light frame. When that is completed, we integrate the light frames one more time, and we end up with a star master. I will show you, this is the star master. You can still see some residual comet, but not that much. And here we have the comet master, and you can see all the comet has been stacked in the same position, so the frame has shifted a bit. After that I did a color correction on the images. I made some multi-scale median transform just to remove some of the noise in the image. I did some additional curve adjustments to both the star master and the comet master. The next step was to do the histogram transformation on both images. You can see here in the comet master that we have a lot of residual star trails that we need to address later on in processing this image. So the next thing I did was to run a StarNet and create a starless star master and a star master with stars. So this is basically my stars that I separated out entirely. I also made a star master with some of the tail in it, and that involved also using some kind of range mask here. This took a while because the image was so noisy. And what I actually ended up with in the end was a star master with some residual tail not present in the Comet master file. And a bigger challenge was the Comet master was really noisy with a lot of star trails and a lot of color that I didn't want over here. So I actually processed this during the course of several days. Different techniques using range masks and clone stamp, and probably should have used some other tools like Photoshop or something like that. But I'm actually a beginner at this, so there's probably tons of way to do it better. What I ended up with in the end was a Comet master file looking something like this. And I integrated those two with the PixelMath process, and the end result is what you see here in the image. The whole process was very rewarding, and hopefully I will get an opportunity to capture another comet. And hopefully I've learned something during this process. If you like this video, please click on the subscribe button. And also, if you want to see me do a video about any other content, leave a comment and I will answer it as soon as I can. Until the next video, I wish you all some clear skies.